How sustainable is Fronius and how is sustainability practiced? So these are the questions we want to deal with today, and therefore we've got Katrin Hellenberger and Leo Peberg with me. Katrin, you are team lead of corporate sustainability. How long have you been in this job?
Hello and thanks for having me. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to talk to you and of course to you about sustainability and especially sustainability at Fronius. My introduction to this topic was already during my school days, honestly, and especially the effects and our contribution as a society to climate change really hit me. The decision to study energy and environmental management was the logical next step. And in 2015 I started here at Fronius, and the first topics were very focused on the environment, and during the last years sustainability gained more and more societal relevance, and also here at Fronius.
Great. Leo, you are expert with the products and also colleague from product marketing. What is your touch point with the topic of sustainability?
I basically got in touch with the topic sustainability during my studies at the university. It was renewable energy, so it was quite obvious that it goes hand in hand with sustainability. And I worked on some eco balances as well during the studies. And now it was quite obvious for me to work on this topic here at Fronius as well. So, yeah.
Great. First of all, I want to deal a little bit with the topic of what is meant by sustainability, and in particular, what is meant with sustainability at Fronius, Katrin.
During the last years, sustainability is very often and wide used, and I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the origin or the explanation and definition. And to start with the origin definition, sustainability comes from forestry, and the idea behind it was to cut down only as many trees as could grow back to provide further generations with wood. And that was the first idea and the first definition. And now sustainability is, every company wants to be sustainable, and products, and you read and hear about it very often. And here at Fronius, we understand sustainability or sustainable behavior as balanced decisions with foresight. And making balanced decisions for us means taking under consideration the society, the environment, and of course the economy.
I mean, if you deal with Fronius for a longer time, you experience that sustainability is a really big topic at Fronius. Why is that? Last year we celebrated
75 years of Fronius, and sustainable action is deeply rooted at Fronius. The founder, Günther Fronius, started, or the first business model, if you want to call it like that, was to extend the then very short life of car batteries by the more efficient use of energy. And that was the first product, or the first idea. And this fundamental approach continues to this day. And we are focusing more than ever on sustainable solutions, and want to make them durable and repairable.
One question that really comes into my mind when we talk about this, is there greenwashing going on at Fronius?
Thank you for this question. When we talk about, or when we discuss sustainability, I think we need to have an open discussion also about greenwashing and what is real and what is authentic. And sustainability is a lot about trust. And it's about connections, and we need these open discussions. And I just want to highlight one example to underline that we really don't want to do greenwashing. For example, when we think about our sites, our infrastructure here in Austria, we really follow a decarbonized energy or decarbonized energy providers, and we don't want to use certificates, for example. We really want the technical solution to have 100% free fossil energy provides, yes. And that will also make us independent from fossil fuels.
I mean, as we have many customers also owning a business, I mean, what's your opinion on why should, generally spoken, a company focus on being environmentally friendly and sustainable? I mean, you as an expert, I guess you have a strong opinion on that.
Yes, I do. When we talk about the environment, we have to talk about resources, and we have to talk about natural resources. And we as Fronius and every other company has a responsibility towards the environment and the society. And we all depend from natural resources, and I just want to highlight one example. In Austria, in this year, in April, the World Overshoot Day took place in April, at the beginning of April, if I remember right. This means that by this day we have already used all the available resources for this year by the beginning of April. There are several months left. And we really have to focus on the sustainable use of resources, and we do need this awareness towards resources. And yeah, in summary, it can be said that all activities of companies, and no matter what company it is, we depend on the condition of the global ecosystem.
Coming back to Fronius, can you give us a little of insight on what you're working on at the moment and the last couple of months?
Yeah, I brought 2 slides with some examples, and going the sustainable roads are many thousands and sometimes small steps, but these steps are important, and I just want to highlight some things. You can see on the slides our site. It's the site in Wels, and we really focus on the sustainable site development, as I already mentioned, decarbonization and the climate protection, quality awareness or product qualities linked to sustainability. That means a durability, a repairability, and here you can see sustainability in our products. Another example for our product approach when it comes to sustainability is a life cycle analysis. I think we will hear some words, some ideas about it later. We did that for an inverter with examination and certification. And another example are our supply chains. I think especially during the COVID period, our output or our outcome on supply chains was really highlighted. And as Fronius, we do have responsibility during and along the whole supply chain with supplier audits and code of conduct, for example. Yeah, one really nice project are our green peers. We empower trainees as climate ambassadors, and Bike to Work is is one event we are organizing to empower our employees to come to work by bike, and they will get a nice breakfast in the morning.
By bike?
Of course,
yes.
And we can have breakfast together.
Oh, let's do that, yeah, of course. Yeah.
That would be nice.
I mean, you mentioned one thing, the green piers, that sounded quite innovative to me. Can you explain a little bit what it is about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about our trainees, the young people working at Fronius, and we want to give them education, or we educate them on climate protection and climate change adaptation, and by gaining knowledge about these topics, and also focusing on some little projects at their work in specifically, they can spread the word and gain experience how little measures, little actions affect or can have or may have an effect.
Sounds amazing. Coming back also to Fronius in terms of Fronius as a company, I mean, compared to other companies, what you've seen so far, what is the main difference you think of Fronius? What's the difference in terms of how they act sustainability and how they treat this topic? I mean, do you see many differences to other companies here?
I think what's very special here at Fronius is our two-dimensional approach. We see sustainability at the corporate level or at the company level and at the product level. And for the company level, we are implementing a management system according to an international standard, and we focus on human rights and the environment, labor practices, and everything along the value chain. And the other perspective is the sustainable or our sustainable products, and what these ideas do mean when it comes to research and development, and how we can provide evidence-based product sustainability, or giving answers to these questions.
I think that's the word, product with evidence-based sustainability. That brings me to you, Leo. There was recently this LCA done with the Gen 24 new inverter series at Fronius that has been approved by the Fraunhofer Institute. I mean, first of all, what was this LCA all about? Can you give an example for that? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, basically with this LCA or eco balance, we scrutinized all the life cycle steps from the whole inverter family Gen 24 Plus. So there's the Primo Gen 24 Plus and the Simo Gen 24 Plus, and there are a lot of scenarios, because you can't just take a look at one scenario, one inverter in Austria, and then you measure some values and then you have a life cycle assessment. It's not that easy. It's basically a very holistic, complex, scientific approach, and we modeled several scenarios, for example, in Australia, in Southern America, in New York, in Europe, of course, with different power classes of inverters from the Gen 24, and therefore we got a lot of results. It's more than 60,000 results, and our R&D department worked more than 1 year on this project. And basically we measured more than 16 different environmental impact categories, for example, eutrophication or human toxicity, for example. But the most important is, of course, the impact on the climate change measured in CO2 equivalent.
CO2 equivalent, can you explain a little bit what that is?
Sure, the CO2 equivalent, or it's also called a greenhouse gas potential. It's basically just a measure of contribution to the greenhouse effect of a service or a product. So if you want to compare products and services, you need one central measure to compare it, because a product do not just emit CO2, it emits methane or nitrogen oxide or and so on and so on. And just to get one measure to compare these different products, you need the CO2 equivalent. It basically says how many kilograms CO2, for example, 1 kilogram methane emits or corresponds to.
Okay, so that's the scientific term of greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, exactly, exactly right.
So why is the Gen 24 inverter series such a sustainable inverter? What's your point on that?
Yeah, there are many points why the Gen 24 is so sustainable. I want to focus 2 points. One is the point the raw materials. So an essential factor for the good eco balance are the raw materials, or the high share of the high recycling share of the raw materials. Let's call it like this. For example, the inverter, the heatsink of the inverter, the aluminium part. You can see it on this picture here. This is the largest component of the inverter, and it's made out of 100% recyclable aluminium. So many of you will say now, okay, aluminium, that's quite energy intense in the production. Yes, that's right, but it's 100% recyclable as well in the end of life phase. So you can basically take the whole aluminium of the inverter and make one new Gen 24 out of it. And that has a huge impact on the waste treatment of the Gen 24, and in the end, a big impact on the whole eco balance, the whole life cycle assessment.
And at the end of the day, not just before we do recycling, maybe there's a possibility to repair an inverter, I guess.
That's the second point. You mentioned it before me. That's basically the sustainability during the production phase as well, because you need a sustainable inverter concept, and our inverter has a concept where that you can recycle it, or that you can repair it and recycle the parts then. So basically, when there is a service case on site, you can just exchange the power stack, you can exchange the data communication unit, and all these exchange processes has a big effort or a big impact on the climate impacts on the eco balance in the end.
Repairing, let's say that the possibility to repair a Gen 24 inverter, it's not an innovation with the Gen 24, it's actually every single Fronius inverter since the beginning has been able to be repaired. I mean, if we would project the outcome of the Gen 24 repairability to all other inverters, would they be similarly sustainable then, or how does that look like then?
Definitely, you can say so, right? I mean, for the Gen 24, we really measured it. We have the facts and the figures. But also, for example, the Snap Inverter series. With the Snap Inverter series, our system partners, our installers, could also replace the PC board, the circuit boards on site. And this was always a big advantage for the installer, not only for the eco balance, but also for the ease of installation. And it's always easier to replace a PC board than the whole inverter, of course, because I don't want to move the inverter away from a PV plant into the repair center. But when it comes to this service case, then the whole inverter gets sent to the Fronius repair centers all over the world and gets repaired and not thrown into the rubbish. So that's basically, there is no real end of life from our inverters. Okay. It's a circle.
Great thing. Talking about the Gen 24 inverter series, what's now the outcome in details of this LCA, what has been done?
There are, of course, a lot of outcomes, a lot of values, because we have, as I said, different scenarios. But when I just pick one scenario, for example, a Simo Gen 24 10 kilowatt in Australia. Of course, Australia, they have a lot of insulation with a lot of energy produced, then more than, for example, in Austria. Then the inverter over a lifetime period of 20 years saves like 17 tons of CO2 equivalent over this whole lifetime of the inverter. What's also very impressive is the CO2 payback time, so the payback time of the climate impact. It starts by 1 year or 0.8 year. So basically, after this time, the inverter worked off its CO2 backpack, which it brings from the production, and that's quite remarkable in my opinion.
Impressive, because this is one of the misunderstandings that's commonly known from end customers that an inverter can pay back its carbon footprint within a year. I mean, this is an incredible outcome.
Yeah.
But also you mentioned one inverter can basically save up to 17 tons of CO2, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's quite impressive. I mean, I imagine 17 tons in terms of weight, but is there any equivalent which makes it more tangible?
Of course, I brought some comparison because it's as you said that the number is very hard to get. Mm-hmm. But for example, this scenario with the 17 tons of CO2 equivalent, that's like comparable to 15 flights from Vienna to New York, which is saved with this one inverter in this scenario over 20 years of lifetime. Mm-hmm. But I would say climate change is a global problem and not only a problem in Austria. And we have to look at all the Gen 24 inverters which are out there and producing green energy every day. Mm-hmm. And when we sum up all this saved CO2 equivalent, this would correspond to 500 million car kilometers, which are saved with all the Gen 24s which are in the market right now.
500 million with the sold Gen 24s?
Just the Gen 24s.
So the Gen 24 inverter has been launched just recently, I would say, only a few months ago.
September last year,
so
yeah, right.
How many inverters are we talking about here? Do you know roughly?
Yeah, we're talking about roughly 10,000 pieces here, and I just calculated an average from the CO2 because all the scenarios are quite a lot. So I just calculated one average. So it's not the best and not the worst, but with an average you save like 500 million car kilometers. That's 15,000 times around the world, and takes you quite long in the car, I think.
That's an amazing thought. Actually, Fronius has sold more than 2 million inverters so far. I mean, Katrin, do you know a number of what maybe energy or CO2 savings their possibility would be of these 2 million inverters?
Yeah, these are all very impressive numbers, and I can provide another number, and in total 21 gigawatts of power were already installed, and that means, for example, 21 nuclear power plants would not be needed by using our inverters.
That's a great number. I think that's a good number to go back to 24 hours of sun, which is the focus or the vision of Fronius in general. That brings us already to an end of this webinar. If you have any questions, please type it into the question field of the software. We will answer your questions after this. And otherwise, I would say thank you for coming, Leo. Thank you for coming, Katrin. Thanks you for listening. Hopefully we talk again soon. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.